larger things up the front and smaller rocks at the back. The diffuser I've actually been placing right here in the center of the tank. When you're designing hardscapes, you don't really think about where's the inlet and outlet going to go, how is this actually going to work. Hi guys, in this video we're going to be looking at this tank right now. I wanted to talk a bit about perspective and how I created it in this tank. Also maybe a bit about the problems I'm facing in this tank and how it's been in the last few, well, maybe month I think it's been set up now. So yeah, we're going to be talking about that. Let's have a look at the problems I've been facing in this tank. It's just how these kind of tanks are set up, and when you're creating a hardscape, you rarely think about, you know, the flow. For example, the flow comes through here to this side. Where do you put your diffuser? Maybe you put it right. This is airstone, not the diffuser. So where do you put your diffuser? Your CO2 diffuser. Where would you put it? Maybe you put it in line. Maybe that's the best option, so that the CO2 flows throughout. But the problem is, where's the flow going? You know, so the flow comes through here, and the flow doesn't go to the back of the tank, unfortunately. And if I put my CO2 diffuser here, the CO2 doesn't get distributed the whole way around the tank. So that's a problem you face when you're designing hardscapes. You don't really think about where's the inlet and outlet going to go, how is this actually going to work. You kind of just deal with that afterwards. The problem being there's no flow in the back of the tank. So all the way through back here, there's no flow. So you can get issues like algae issues basically in the back, or even in no flow areas. So I've been experiencing a small amount of algae, but nothing serious, nothing too bad, to be honest. Been kind of lucky. The lights have been quite low. The only thing I've been experiencing now, you might actually notice it, maybe more if I went from the side, the colour of the water. It's a wee bit brown, and I think that's just due to the soil I was using. So the soil right here, Amazonia, this is the version 1, not the version 2, so the older one, and it seems to make the water a bit brown. Apart from that, the algae issue has been very, very minimal. No problems really maintaining it, really. But there is that problem where you don't really plan where things are going to be, the outlet and inlet, and how you're actually going to maintain it. And then there's issues like this, the CO2. So what I am doing, I've got my CO2 diffuser down here actually, and the diffuser I've actually been placing right here in the center of the tank. Doesn't look very good, does it? But this is the fix, because if I placed it over here, the flow wouldn't be too good. So it has to be placed here, and that gets me the best distribution across the tank. But the problem is that, well, it doesn't look very good, so there's that. I'll give you some close-ups in the tank, even though I just made a mess of the glass right there. So a couple different paths. You got one path in here, another one here, small one coming in here, another path here, one here that splits. So that's the idea. The focal point is over here, so you can see the end of this path. You can't really see the end of this path because it kind of just disappears. And then the other paths are just to the side. So the rule of thirds, I suppose this path would be in the rule of thirds. But that does come into play with perspective as well, rule of thirds. But the main thing is that you have larger things up the front and smaller rocks at the back, also creating this sort of winding path, and getting smaller towards the back really gives you a nice sense of depth. Maybe another thing to talk about is the livestock. So you can probably see right here, got some Cliton corona snails, the horn nearite snails. They're doing a pretty good job of keeping the hardscape clean. I didn't really want to be on top of maintenance all the time with this tank, so keeping a kind of cleanup crew that can keep the rocks a bit more clean for me is probably ideal. So that's why I chose those, although they are starting to escape a lot of the time. You can see that one's on the rock above the water level. There is that issue with them. And again over there's a little one there climbing. So you do have that issue. But they're doing a good job of keeping the rocks clean, so I'm quite happy. The light is on a really low intensity, so yeah, that really helps as well. Anyway, also along with the perspective thing of having, you know, larger things at the front, smaller things at the back, winding paths, having a steep substrate. I mean, the substrate almost goes to the top of the tank, as you can see at the back right there. Also, plant choice. Plants at the front of the tank and plants at the back of the tank. So, for example, we have Macranthum Monte Carlo right here. Yet we have, or we did have before I removed it, most of it, we have little bits of HC at the back or towards the back of the tank. So that helps create a sense of depth. Also, I've got Crypt Parva at the front. Although a very small plant, it does create a sense of depth because there's none at the back. There's only like hair grass and moss at the back. Another thing we've got here is some Bucephalandra. Let's see if we can get a nice shot of some Bucephalandra. So it's mini needle leaf down here as well. So that really helps create larger leaf structures at the front of the tank, and just the grassy plants at the back. So that really helps as well with the sense of depth. I think if you've watched the videos, we did 2 videos on this tank, much more polished videos than this. We talked about, first video was the hardscape and the concept behind the hardscape, so I explained everything, and also the second video, which was the planting. So since then, the tank's been running pretty smoothly, although as you can see I was just doing there, I was trying to remove the hard water stains, which is not something I don't really ever have an issue with because I use RO water. But in this tank, because all these are Serra rocks, raising the KH and the GH, I just decided to use tap water. And although my tap water is pretty soft, this rock really raises it. I decided to use tap water because I'm not going to fight a losing battle with the rock. It's clearly going to be not a soft water tank with this amount of Serra rock, limestone rock. So I just accepted it and decided to use tap water. The paths themselves, it would be really nice if I could clean them up a bit. As you can see, if I zoom in a bit, the stones are starting to fall into the top of the path instead of the sand. But this can be fixed later. I think I might enter this into a competition, maybe. Something for this size category anyway, because it is only a 32 litre tank. So hoping that I can add this to a category that's this size of tank and compete with tanks the same size, because it wouldn't be fair for me to enter this into tanks with you know, like 120p's. It just wouldn't make a lot of sense to me. So I'm gonna wait and see if I can maybe AGA contest later this year. What do you think? Maybe get a nice photo, clean it up a bit. Hopefully the plants grow in a wee bit more. I think I've got maybe a month and a half or maybe 2 months before the end. I think it's the 10th of September or something like that. That you have to enter by. So yeah, maybe I clean up the tank a bit and enter into that. So let me know what you think. I was thinking about putting some shrimp in here, but I don't know. It might be more hassle. Maybe move the soil around a wee bit more. They would help me clean, but I think the snails are doing a pretty good job of it, to be honest. So I don't know if I want to go ahead and. It is a really small tank, and with the amount of rock and soil and all this, the amount of water in here is very small. So I don't know if I really want to add loads of shrimp in here. It might just clutter up the photo as well, and I might have to remove them for the photo. But yeah, it's all doing well. I think the Ricardia could do with a wee bit more light. It's starting to show that kind of like low-tech kind of growth in some areas, the darker areas. But I could increase the light more, but it's on like 30% power, or 40% power or something like that. And it is only the C-Line Twin Star. So it's not a lot of light, but I think for this kind of tank and minimal planting, I really don't want to overdo it. And it's working well so far. Anyway guys, that's just a little video on this tank. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, any comments, let me know in the comments, obviously. Yeah, so I'll see you guys next time. Have a good day. Bye bye.